My name is Molly. I work as a public servant in a small town. 8 years ago, I married my husband, Michael, who is also a public servant. However, because both of us have jobs that require us to frequently move, we live separately. We don't have any children. Every evening at 9 p.m., I receive a message on WhatsApp from my husband. Damn, I have a meeting tonight as well. You have a hard time every night. When will you be able to come home next? Don't know. Unsure. End of discussion. This seems to be the only conversation between us as a couple. In our 8 years of marriage, we have never lived together. People may think that we are a marriage of convenience because of this. However, in our industry, this situation isn't unusual. In fact, it's rather common. That's because we are both federal civil servants. Specifically, we are soldiers. We get transferred to different military bases around the country every 2 to 3 years. Each time, our place of residence changes. 2 years ago, during one of our conversations on WhatsApp, should I buy an apartment in Jackson, Mississippi, where my hometown is? Oh, that sounds great. Hope I get stationed in Jackson as well. Of course you should. We are a couple, after all. Why are you denying it? Are we really a couple? Why are you saying such silly things? Still at work, so see you tomorrow. Bye. Our WhatsApp conversations were always short. 2 years ago, I bought an apartment in Jackson where my parents live. I plan to live there even after I retire. Of course, if Michael gets stationed in Jackson, we plan to live together. On that day, I received a rare phone call from Michael instead of a WhatsApp message. That's unusual. A call instead of a WhatsApp message? Hey, my parents are planning a trip to Kentucky from Eugene, Oregon. When they stop through Mississippi, do you mind if they stay at your apartment? It would mean a lot. Sure, Michael. It's been a while since I last met your parents. Thank you. Bye. Despite the rare phone call, Michael's response was cold. When was the last time I met my in-laws? Has it been since our wedding? I guess so. I'm based in Mississippi. Michael moves around the country and his parents are in Eugene, Oregon. We hardly have a chance to meet. Now that I'm going to meet my in-laws, I want them to enjoy my hometown, Jackson. I eagerly volunteered to show them around the city. Molly, long time no see. How have you been? I'm doing well, thank you. Michael has been living alone for a long time. Sorry for not being able to meet up. Oh, don't worry. We're both kind of like air to each other. Yes, that's what we were to each other, Michael and I. Like air, for better or worse. Since you're here in Mississippi, let's tour the Windsor ruins today, I said, and drove my in-laws to the Windsor ruins. These ruins are impressive. They are as grand as the Shelton McMurphy Johnson House in Eugene. My father-in-law was comparing and expressing admiration for the Windsor ruins and the Shelton McMurphy Johnson House in their hometown, Eugene. In fact, there was some damage during an earthquake 6 years ago. Parts that couldn't be repaired were demolished. That's a shame. Next, let's go to the petrified forest. Thus, I spent the whole day taking my in-laws around the attractions of Mississippi. My mother-in-law was quite taken with the city and even started talking about living here. I've fallen in love with Mississippi, thank you, Molly. Would it be all right if I stayed here for a while? Of course. I'm usually not home during the day, so I'll give you a spare key. So I handed over a spare key to my mother-in-law. I thought they would leave in 4 or 5 days at most. But a week had passed and my in-laws showed no signs of leaving. Finally, I decided to make a proposal to my in-laws. Well, if you like it that much, I can lease it to you for $600 a month. I can just stay at my folks' house in the city in the meantime. Upon hearing that, my father-in-law suddenly flared up in anger. What on earth are you thinking? Asking family for money to lease. You should let us use it for free. Oh dear, calm down, honey. Thanks to my mother-in-law stepping in, the situation was somehow calmed down, but I didn't feel great about it. How about this then? You can just cover the cost of utilities you use, electricity, water, and gas. Then one day in the second week, I was at work when suddenly my cell phone rang. What could this be about? At this time? Hello? Ah, this is Brian, the Front Hills property manager. We got a call from the folks downstairs saying there's a water leak from your apartment and it's causing a stain on their ceiling. Can you come over right away? We can't go in without your permission. Even though I was told to come right away, I couldn't just slip out on my own while I was at work. Eventually, I took advantage of my lunch break to return to the apartment. Upon entering the room with the property manager, "Oh, Molly, what brings you here at this time? What about work?" "Ma'am, the folks downstairs are saying there might be a water leak from our place." "A water leak? Well, I have no idea what you're talking about." Whether unaware or deliberately unaware, I pushed past my mother-in-law and headed for the washing machine. The hose was disconnected and the washer was spinning and draining for the umpteenth time. This is the problem. I went downstairs with the manager. We were allowed to go up to the room and check the ceiling, and sure enough, there was a stain spreading across the ceiling where the washing machine was placed. I let out an involuntary sigh. My mother-in-law followed and peered into the room before going back with a guilty look on her face. In the end, I had to go apologize to the people downstairs with a box of cookies and also got billed by the property management for repairs. When I reported this to my mother-in-law, she lashed out at me. "So you're telling us to pack up and leave, is that it? We're not going anywhere that easily. Should we just up and go? Huh." The complaints didn't just stop at the water leak. The property management again called with another issue from the residents. "This is Brian, the Front Hills property manager. What could it be this time?" I instantly braced myself. The complaint this time was about my father-in-law singing loudly on the balcony every night, causing a noise disturbance. Ugh, seriously? I desperately suppressed the urge to lash out at my surroundings, but I won't let it slide this time. When I went to the apartment again, my in-laws, who should have been there, were gone. I found a note on the table. "We appreciate your hospitality. We are heading back to Seattle." What, that's it? I found myself shouting out loud. Turns out they had left without paying a single penny for the electricity, water, or gas they had used. What was left was a large amount of garbage inside the house. At least take out your trash, jeez. Anyway, with my in-laws gone, I moved back into the apartment from my parents' house. One day, my husband unexpectedly called me. "My dad and mom love your apartment, so I'm giving the apartment you bought as a gift to them, understand? If you go against this, we're getting a divorce." Behind him, I could hear my mother-in-law's laughter. After leaving my apartment, my in-laws had moved into their son's government quarters, my husband's place. Then, instead of confronting me directly, they manipulated my husband into demanding that I surrender the apartment. How did it come to this? Now I'm being forced to make a choice. Should I give up the apartment I finally got my hands on, or should I get a divorce? It's a binary choice. I thought hard, groaning. All right, I made up my mind. 2 days later, my husband didn't text me through our usual WhatsApp, but instead called. "You'll pay for this." The very day he forced me to choose between handing over the apartment or a divorce, I sent him the divorce papers by express mail. He was angry about my action, which was completely unexpected. Not even a week passed, and I was summoned by my boss at work. "A moment, Molly?" Unbelievably, it was a transfer order for me to head to Dallas. My ex-husband, who manages personnel, had pulled some strings behind the scenes to harass me since I adamantly refused to let go of my apartment. Damn it, I won't forget this. But what about my apartment? Should I give in and rent it to my ex's parents? Right, this is exactly the time. I paid a visit to the legal affairs person at my workplace. You have no relation whatsoever with your ex-husband now, so naturally you're unrelated to his parents, too. I think you should rent this out as a landlord." That's what I thought. I immediately called my in-laws, who had gone back to Portland, and told them that I was ready to rent my apartment out when I'm transferred. To my surprise, they readily agreed. Well, it wasn't harassment. They just really liked my apartment. On this occasion, I proposed a condition of $700 per month, including the utility bills and repair costs from their last stay, which they accepted without a fuss. While working in Dallas, I was also studying for the internal selection examination. Only a select few could reach the top level among senior military officers. The biggest hurdle to reach that top level was an examination to enter a course called the Command Staff Course, which trains unit commanders. Those who pass the examination and complete over a year of training are assigned to units all around the country as unit commanders. It wasn't so much about wanting to be important or wanting to be in charge of others. I was full of the desire to get a higher rank and position than my ex-husband and to show him up. And believe it or not, I overcame this super tough hurdle and was given permission to enter the Command Staff course in one shot. Watch this, Michael. The real revenge starts now. Those who study in the Command Staff course are admitted to the Military Officer School. The Military Officer School is in New York, where my ex-husband resides. My ex-husband, who is in charge of personnel, must surely know that I passed the examination, but I purposefully didn't contact him, nor did he reach out to me. So after 16 months, I became a commander of a unit that is responsible for education and training of soldiers in Nebraska. Around the same time, my ex-husband was also assigned to Nebraska, where he was assigned to the Regional Cooperation Headquarters, which is a liaison between the military and local people. Thanks to the internal selection exam, my rank is now higher than my ex-husband's. That day was a training for senior officers who had newly arrived in Nebraska. "Hey, why are you wearing a rank insignia that's higher than mine?" As soon as my ex-husband spotted me and approached, the first thing he did was yell at me. Even the higher-ups around us were taken back, wondering what on earth was happening. I brushed it off lightly. In my heart, I thought, I'm not with a low-conscious person like you anymore. It was a fantastic, sunny Sunday. This day was the annual base open day, a rare opportunity for ordinary citizens to interact with servicemen. From children to adults, everyone cheered as they saw the tanks displayed within the base grounds. They were overwhelmed by the simulation of combat training, where soldiers descended from a helicopter that landed on the rooftop helipad, swiftly landing on the ground and readying their guns in a Spider-Man-like maneuver. Some people took photos with the soldiers in camouflage, and others were delighted to have commemorative and bear-related merchandise in their hands. As a training coordinator, I was at a booth where the ordinary citizens could experience the forward-leaning rest position with active servicemen. That's when my ex-husband showed up, bringing along some people from the Parents Association. The emotions I had been holding back against my ex-husband and former in-laws, my desire for revenge, flared up as if this was the perfect moment. Now is the ultimate chance for revenge. I can't miss this chance. How about it, mister, over there? Mom and Dad, would you like to join us too? Before I knew it, I found myself calling them over, bringing my ex-husband and former in-laws to our booth. Reluctantly, I forcefully fitted my ex-husband with an iron helmet and lined him up with the other servicemen. All right, in the military, we give everyone a number and then call out that number. We don't have time to call everyone by name. I'm going to start calling out the numbers. When I say start numbering, the person on the right will say 1. Then the next person will say 2, 3, 4, and so on. That's how I got my ex-husband to line up at the far right, in the number 1 position. The others were half servicemen and half ordinary citizens. Numbering, start. 1. Number 1, you're slow. When I say start numbering, you respond immediately. Yes. At that moment, my ex-husband, who was standing straight and at attention, made me want to burst out laughing. This is amusing. Now, we're going to practice the forward-leaning rest position. After that, the instructor, a serviceman, gave a brief lecture on the procedure of the forward-leaning rest position, and after the participants repeated it several times and learned the moves to a certain extent, I took over. From now on, we're going to conduct combat training. Soldiers, be careful about where your muzzle is pointing. For the civilians who don't have guns, please pretend. Saying so, I gave an order to the 9 participants. Target the tree ahead, forward. We're still a good distance away from the enemy. Everyone maintain a low profile and advance by running, using the target tree as cover. Then keep your guns pointed in the direction of the enemy and let a part of the team move forward in a bounding overwatch. Number 1, bounding overwatch, move forward. I have decided to push my ex-husband to the limit with orders. What are you doing, Number 1? You're too slow. Move forward, Number 1. Number 1. Yelling like that, my husband reluctantly pushes forward. Number 1, you're standing too tall. You're going to get shot. Do you want to die, Number 1? And so my ex-husband, an active duty soldier, crawls around the ground with his rifle. Number 1 has arrived. Under the blazing sun, my ex-husband manages to utter these words, barely. Number 1, your voice is too quiet. Do it again. Suddenly, a burst of laughter erupts from the crowd. The spectators, who are unaware of our relationship, seem to find it amusing to see a female commander treating a male soldier like a pawn. My ex-husband's parents, however, look on him with a grimace. In the hierarchical world of the military, my husband, who initially had a higher rank than me, had always tried to assert his dominance over me, both at work and in private. In the military, they often say that there's a rank system even among wives. And I think my in-laws also began to look down on me, reveling in the attention their son received, which was mostly due to his rank and not his character. Fueled by this frustration, I decided to take the selection exam and passed it in one go, resulting in a complete turnaround. In the end, I felt refreshed having been able to show my ex-husband and ex-in-laws who's boss, especially in front of my ex-in-laws who thought their son was a big shot. The way I berated my ex-husband seemed to have a huge impact. A few days later, I got a call from my ex-in-laws saying they wanted to move out of their apartment. Meanwhile, I, who had been commuting from my parents' home, could finally start commuting from my own apartment. Ironically, I still bump into my ex-husband here and there, and seeing his grimacing face each time has become a secret pleasure of mine.